Alright, hello everyone. This is going to be the second video on the Stories from the Shattered Kingdom series. In this one, I will be reading Chapter 1 of the Rise and Fall of Tyrion's Empire. In the last video, I read the introduction to this story. I highly recommend that you watch that first, as otherwise you might be a little confused as to what's going on here. For now, I'll be trying to use Roll20 to kind of have some visuals to what's going on in the story. It's probably not going to line up 100% what's going on. Here, the background is a village with some of the main characters. However, this would more likely be taking place in like a courtyard of like a militia barracks rather than a small village, or I don't know, maybe perhaps this is happening in a little village, but the main point is this is like more so like a training ground than an actual village is where this is taking place. So I guess I probably should. I'm Nick. I'm the DM for our campaigns in the Shattered Kingdoms, and yeah, that's mainly my job. I do stuff like that and write stories like this. I guess shout out to Madeline, our editor, for all the documents I make and the scripts that I usually have if I have scripts for these kind of things. I mean, this I have a script because I'm literally just reading a story I wrote, so. Anyway, I think that's all the shout outs I need to do. Check out our campaigns on this channel. It's the main focus of the channel. This is just one of the many supplementary material things that we put on the channel. We also do lore for the world, which might help you to watch part 1 and part 2 of the lore regarding the world. I think those are the only lore videos we have up right now, but they'd help you give you a little bit of background as to just exactly what the hell is going on right now in this story. But I mean, it's not a requirement. It would just help your understanding a little bit. And I guess without further ado, I should start reading this chapter. Otherwise, this might be like an hour-long video of me ranting. Alright. Chapter 1. Militia Mayhem. It was a quiet, serene day in the year 990 AF. 990 years since our glorious empire was founded, that I would meet the man who would be my best friend for most of my life. We were both but 6 years old, and at that ripe old age we began our training in the militia. The world was seemingly quiet and safe, save for the sound of hundreds of young boys and girls hitting each other at sticks. The relative quiet was only rarely interrupted by a stick making contact with flesh, often leading to scars and bruises, and in some cases these scars would be permanent and serve as a badge. Not of shame for being hit, but a badge showing that one was willing to bleed for the Empire. With each successful hit on one opponent, one child would be removed from the exercise, and it was this after 2 long grueling hours. There was just half a dozen children still standing. And these these children are the ones that you can see in the background. I would hear later our sparring sessions at some sort of record for the Empire. a sign these children were destined for greatness. Well, they would be if half of them would not have died before they reached adulthood. Or, to be more precise, before they reached 14 years of age, the lowest age one could apply to join the legions. I was one of these 6 children. My muscles ached. I personally only took half a dozen or so children out. My success was mostly due to endurance, not combat prowess on my part. My friend Ben was another one of these children. Not too much of a surprise there. Ben had been wanting to join the Legion practically since he left the womb. Both his parents had been legionnaires. His mother got a year's leave when he was born before heading back to duty. His parents set a high bar for him, and when they were on leave, they tried to instill in him the values of the Legion. He always wanted to be a great soldier like his parents. He saw no finer thing in life. Unfortunately, both of his parents would be killed by Nalavian rebels when he was just 10 years old. But I, of course, am getting ahead of myself. That is still a few years off. The third child was Camilla, who even then was a beautiful woman with hair I was never quite sure was either light black or a dark brown, and eyes that let you know in an instant there was at very least someone who cared for you. She was definitely one of the kindest children I had ever met, at least off the practice field. She smacked the fourth child, a big brute of a kid. Who looked more a big brute of a kid. Sorry, I was. Maybe I should just leave that as a static picture in future. This brute of a kid. Okay, yeah, she smacked the fourth child, the big brute of a kid, which, with such strength, it was said that he had lost a dozen teeth. I only saw 4 or 3 go flying personally. The fifth child wasn't faring much better. Seeing he was this close to victory, he decided he was gonna be beaten by some brats. He drew a knife on the sixth kid while the captain overseeing this combat. Captain Gregor the Gorilla, an old retired legate, tried to stop the fight. Before he could, however, the sixth kid struck with brutal precision. The stick lunged like a spear at the throat of the knife-wielding child. By the time he realized what was happening, his body had already hit the floor. The stick lodged firmly in his throat. Let this be a lesson, young ones. Legionnaires always fight with honor. Your opponents may not fight with honor. Your opponents may try to use dishonorable tactics, but nothing in this world can truly match a skilled and honorable legionnaire. Now, continue the fight. Triple rations for the winner, Captain Gregor said as he handed the sixth child a new stick. The dead child quickly forgotten, we set back to our sparring. Triple rations is a reward no child would scoff at in the militia. Sure, normal rations were enough to not go to bed hungry, but triple rations was practically a feast. A feast our little child minds imagined was what the emperors would have had at their parties. Triple rations every day, I imagine. The prize fit for an emperor laid out before us, and only 4 contenders left. We were focused on one thing, and one thing only. Winning! Ben faced off against this unknown sixth child while I faced off against Camilla. Now, some more close-minded people may think that a boy such as myself should be able to easily beat a girl half my size like Camilla, but such was not the case. It was a hard-fought battle, as Camilla fought with the speed and grace reminiscent of the elven warriors from the old stories of the Empire's conquest of the elves. This is appropriate, as it was said that Camilla was 3/4 elf. She was at the very least a half-elf, although I was never quite sure just exactly how much elf she had in her. She had me on the back foot most of the fight until we heard a cry from Ben. He had been struck on the face with a stick, leaving a noticeable scar on his face. The sixth kid had dealt him a terrible blow, and Captain Gregor had some of the children escort him to the healer's tent. With Camilla suitably distracted by this development, I took the opportunity to kick out with my leg and trip her as she tried to reposition herself so she could meet this new threat. She went down with a thud as she tried to make her way to this new threat to our rear. And I have to admit I felt more than a little sympathy for her, as she was always a good friend, and she always would be. I resolved to share some of my triple rations with her and Ben when I won. Now I stood face to face with the sixth child. I struck at him first, and he parried with little effort. After 5 minutes of back and forth, it felt like I was coming close to winning. Something seemed real off. It hit me like a steel arrow to the face. This kid wasn't struggling to repel my attacks. He was testing me. He seemed to pick up that I was onto him, and he held back no longer. It was all I had simply to hold him back. He moved with what seemed inhuman speed and strength. Some of his blows I knew I had to dodge, as I simply did not have the strength to block them. Again and again, he came striking at me. I realized then that the battle was lost, so I positioned myself so his strike would hurt the least. I moved as close to him as possible within the moment, and within moments, he struck me with a quick, short swing to the chest, which broke one of my ribs. Crying out in pain, I clutched my ribs, as he now stood over me in victory. But instead of a cheer or any sign of contempt for me, he offered me a hand. "Come on, you fought well. Let me give you a hand. I didn't mean to hit you that," he said as he was quickly cut off by a stab in the back with Camilla's stick. He soon fell beside me as we both realized Camilla had never been eliminated and was now the winner. Shit, fuck! There goes the triple rations. How the fuck did I forget that bitch? She certainly isn't hard on the eyes. Everybody calls me Ty. What do they call you, friend? He said he was now rubbing his bruised back. They call me Roy. You were too busy trying to be honorable by allowing me to save some face in my defeat. By trying to help me up, you presented the perfect opening for her, and she took it. That is a tactic straight out of the Legionnaire's handbook. Never let your guard down until the enemy has certainly been defeated. I replied to him. That would be Chapter 6, Paragraph 9 in the Legionnaire's handbook. I suggest that you both review it more in the future, Captain Gregor said as he left to fetch me a healer for my broken rib. Man, that Camilla sure is something to look at, Roy. She's single? I wouldn't mind sleeping with her, Ty said to me. You! Ty, you trying to die from a cootie infestation or something? Camilla's teaming with them. They will eat you alive, man. Trust me, I've slept with her and they gnaw you if you get too close, I said. You know something, Roy? I never really did understand why grown-ups like sleeping with each other. You have to share your bed with someone and they always move around too much. Don't forget about the snoring. Keeps me up the whole damn night. If I have to sleep with some fuck, Ty said. We both at List as we both thought the grown-up practice of sleeping together absurd. Of course, being kids of only 6 years old, we took our parents' words literally, and our words meant nothing more than that Camilla, Ben, and me shared a bed once on a particularly cold night where our mage heater broke. And as such, Ty, as well, only meant that he wanted to snuggle or some other thing, some other innocent equivalent thing with Camilla. Of course, that was all we could imagine with our childlike brains. We knew nothing else. We were blissfully ignorant of the adult world and all of its joys and horrors. Our only window into it was the militia. Hardly a place to learn the true meaning of what our parents meant when they said they were sleeping with someone. Me and Ty became best buds after that, although part of me thought he was hanging out with me so he could have more chances to hang out with Camilla. Either way, we did everything together from then on. That was the day of the beginning of a beautiful friendship that lasted until his death. I love that memory. Roy, wake the fuck up! We need to move now! The familiar voice of Ty pleaded, interrupting my dream of when we first met. Oh, Ty, I didn't get much sleep last night. Can't let's wait until later, bud? I asked with a pain in my head that I could not quite place. Roy, you've been up for 4 damn hours. You took a club to the head. You lose all your brains that fast? I mean, I patched you up. You hardly lost any blood, but apparently lost all your damn brain. Get the fuck up, dumb fuck. Militia's being routed. We need to fall back to the city and ditch our armor before Legate Connor decides to start making reprisals against the militia for not supporting his claim to the throne. Fuck. Ben, help me carry this lazy fuck out of here. Camilla, cover us and keep those damn Connor loyalist legionnaires off us. Ty said this with a slight air of panic that only a man who knew him for almost 10 years could pick up. Those legionnaires don't really have different uniforms than our legionnaires. How do I tell who is friendly and who is traitor? Camilla asked as she moved her bow to scan the perimeter, which was littered with the dead and dying. Just shoot anyone that isn't us, Camilla. Just shoot anyone that ain't us. If they aren't trying to kill us now, they'll try next week. Ty said with a hint of annoyance in his voice, as him and Ben started to drag me to safety. The situation was slowly coming back to me. A few days ago, the militia had been raised because rumor had it that the rogue Legate Connor was heading for our hometown, the capital of the Empire. We'd been training hard for those few days, and when Legate Connor's supporters arrived outside the walls, we were given but one night to repair any last final tasks before the fight. Thinking we may die on the field, me and Camilla slept together for the first time. At least the first time in the adult way. I remembered her sneaking back to her bed a few feet away, so no one was the wiser in the militia barracks. Especially not Ty, as he practically fawns over her. As he always did, and always would. We went to battle shortly after, and after scoring a kill on a veteran legionnaire, I got clubbed upside the head, then woke up to this. While I was reliving the past few days in my mind, we had made it back to the city. We were hiding in the sewers where we dumped our militia uniforms. Things for things for all of us were definitely going to change. And that is the end of chapter 1, which gives you a little insight into Roy's childhood and his somewhat his stint in the militia. It also reveals where he met Ty, who some of you will probably begin to piece together later on is Tyrion, who is known as the kind of somewhat the main focus of this story, who would become the emperor of the empire and kind of became a tyrant, one man with power, responsible for the deaths of over like 1 billion people. So yeah, Ty may seem friendly now, besides his sailor mouth. But he is going to get much worse by the end of this story. Well, his language will improve somewhat, but his overall goodness is definitely going to go down. I guess to be fair, I can't really call him too good. I mean, he did murder someone when he was just 6 years old, but he's definitely a lot better than he will be in the future. Anyway, that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a nice day.